Well, now both candidates are calling for an end to defense spending sequestration, and there's no doubt we live in a more dangerous world that we'll eventually see an arms race I just talked about in Asia. It's creating a lot of anxiety in the Middle East, of course. Americans want a prepared military. Joining me now to discuss the economic ramifications, Steve Moore and John Tamny. You know, guys, I remember a few years ago when it was like, hey, we need to bring debt down, and the debt clock, you know, now it's $19.5 trillion. Steve, can't we double the military, not touch Social Security or Medicare, Medicaid, and still have this debt, you know, not go to sky-high levels?
Hell no, we can't. You know, we have to do something about all spending. And by the way, you know, look, we did the sequester spending. We cut these agencies. You remember, Charles, the liberals said, oh, my God, the whole world's going to come to an end if we cut the Park Service by 2% and this agency by 3%. And the world went on. Look, I'm going to say something politically incorrect. I like sequestration. I like every agency saying, OK, I'm only going to spend 97 cents on the dollar this year next, because American families do that all the time.
You know what, Steve? If I had pom-poms, I'd have been here. Give me an S. Give me a T.
There you go.
John, I'm with them. You know what? We saw all these non-essential personnel. We heard doom and gloom. It wasn't the end of the world. Ultimately, we got to pay the piper. So how do we reconcile that, knowing that our military does need to be rebuilt? John?
Oh, is that for me? Well, yeah, I don't think I'm not so much worried about the military spending. I'm not worried about deficits either. To me, all government spending is deficit spending. I want major shrinkages in it. What we forget is that government spending is the ultimate tax on growth, because it amounts to Paul Ryan and Nancy Pelosi allocating the economy's resources rather than talented people in the private sector. So I want much bigger than 97 cents on the dollar. I want something much greater.
Well, Charles, what we did in the 1980s was we grew the economy so much we could afford a much bigger and more prepared military. You know, the problem is you can't have all these things that we want, like a very strong military, if we don't have a vibrant economy. We got to turn the economy around. Growth is what allow us to win, you know, right, the war against terrorism.
And I'm with you on the supply side aspect of this, Steve, But ultimately, though, we have to deal with all of this. I mean, to John's point, don't we have to slow or curb spending at some point?
I live by the Pentagon. Anybody who tells me the Pentagon can't save money is crazy. It's the biggest bureaucracy in the world, practically. You know, let's cut some of the wasteful spending and put it into the kind of programs that we need for our national security and to keep us safe.
But, John, there's no political will. I mean, can't anyone get elected on that message?
No, Steve knows this. He's talked about how Democrats and Republicans, they get in power in Congress, they spend wildly. Nothing's going to change. I'm with him. There's no reason we can't substantially reduce military spending and still be the strongest in the world. My one problem with tax cuts, I love them, but they generate too many revenues for government that leads to programs that grow and grow.
We got to leave it there. Great conversation. I appreciate it. I'll bring the pom-poms next time, Steve.